Here he is, right on time. Let's get loaded up. Here we go. I'm loading the D-Max onto the Dirk Hartog Island barge for the 15-minute ride across to a little-known West Australian island paradise. If you've never heard of Dirk Hartog Island, I guarantee it'll be on your bucket list well before this episode finishes. So yeah, well, I cannot tell you just how good it feels to be back here. Over there, that is the Australian mainland, and there's a significant point a couple of kilometres to the north and the west of there. It's one of the compass points of the Australian mainland, north, south, east and west. Let's go through them quickly. Easiest one to get to on the east coast, Cape Byron. To the south, South Point at Wilson's Promontory. Both of those locations, furthest south and furthest east, pretty easy to get to. Let's go north for a bit, tip of Cape York. Absolute cracking location, the most northerly point on the Australian mainland, and it is on every single four-wheel driver's bucket list, and for good reason too. But out there, that is Steep Point, the most westerly location on the Australian mainland. Just getting out there is an absolute mission. Very few people make it out that far. The track in is long, it's arduous, it's corrugated, and it is a significantly long distance from anywhere, meaning not many people make it to the westernmost point of the Australian mainland. For me, however, I'm going further west, and that meant I've had to jump on the barge and come across here. And I'm going to spend the next few days tracking north and eventually west to end up driving my four-wheel drive to the very furthest you can take a four-wheel drive and still be on Australian soil. Welcome to Dirk Hartog Island. Oh man, I can't tell you how excited I am to be back on the island. But before we even get started, before we go anywhere else, before there's any introductions, coming across on the barge then, I looked out to sea and I saw that there's a massive swell running. So before I go anywhere else, cutting north and heading straight back out to the west coast. Hang in there, you'll find out why.
Keep showing up. You just keep showing up. You just keep showing up. Yeah, you just keep showing up. I bet it isn't what you wanna hear from me. No, you just wanna find some kind of lucky pill for free. But you just have to keep showing up. You just keep showing up. Yeah, you just keep showing up.
at that, will you? This view, whoa, this view is spectacular on any given day, but when the swell is up like this blowhole down here is absolutely spectacular. It's like listening to a jet engine. Whoa, crikey Moses. Oy, 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 look at that one. Oh, Struth, Bruce. That's insane. Tell you what, that's probably the closest I've come to having a shower in the last few days, probably the closest I'll come in the next few days as well. Spectacular. All right, Dirk Hartog Island, what's it all about? Okay, it's a small island, approximately 850, 900 kilometres north of Perth in the Shire of Shark Bay, just off the coast of Australia's most westerly point, that being Steep Point. It's about 80, 90 kilometres long, a couple of dozen kilometres wide at its widest. It's a long, thin island, fairly small. Now, you do have to book to stay on the island. There are several campsites, of which I'll be visiting a couple whilst I'm over here. One of the things I love about this place is that they kept the number of vehicles. That's a conservation measure, and it's done so that you don't bump into heaps of people over here. It really does feel as if you've got the entire island to yourself. I know for a fact that in the 620 square kilometres or whatever it is that we've got to roam around on, there are only 16 four-wheel drives for the next week or so. Chances of me even seeing anyone are extremely slim. Oh, it just feels bloody good to be back on Dirk Hartog Island. I'm only 5 minutes here, and I bet you it's already on your bucket list, with good reason too. You know, I just got to thinking, I reckon I've got more in the D-Max at the moment, packed to the rafters, more than I've ever been packed before, because of course on the island there is zero resupply, so I've got extra water, extra drinking water, I've got extra food. I might have an extra couple of Iron Jacks as well, just hidden away in the back there. But because I can't get anything else over here, I bought the lot. But that's exactly what the D-Max was designed to do. As a touring vehicle, it absolutely excels. And out here, it just sips away at the fuel, so my fuel economy is fantastic. Reliability, I know it's going to get me off the island. I've got zero concerns there. And the fact that I've loaded it to the hilt, not bothering it one bit, we're getting the job done. And I'm really enjoying driving it out here. Oh, I wonder where that track goes to. The island, as it is, was discovered, for want of a better word, right back in 1616 by a bloke, well, you can probably guess his name, Dirk Hartog. He was a VOC in the Dutch East India Trading Company, and he was on one of his routine sailing voyages. I'll make that sound quite nice, they were pretty harsh. To pick up spices and, well, check out the world like they used to do back in the day. Now, the reason for him almost literally bumping into the island was because a new route had been discovered based on some prevailing winds. Those winds we know today, of course, as the roaring 40s. Certain times of the year, the wind is extremely strong in one direction, and it favoured the ships sailing on these routes. It's a bumpy little section. So it favoured them so much, in fact, that it used to cut off about 6 months of their journey. But this is the interesting part. That route had not been formalised. It was not written down in the Dutch East Indies or the VOC's route descriptions. Dirk Hartog should not have been following that route, and there's a lot of conjecture as to why he was. But what happened was, the winds were so strong, they blew him off course. He probably wasn't used to them. He ended up going too far west, and that's when he bumped into the island that he named Dirk Hartog Island. Now, there's something very important, and we'll cover it, about that landing much further on when we get to the top of the island. For now, though, let's finish that off by saying that it's written down that he was the second European to make landfall on Australian soil. Now, that is something I object to. I do not believe he was the second. I reckon he was about the fourth or fifth, but that's for another AuSolo down the track. For now, we'll keep trucking north and try not to bump into anything, Dirk Hartog style. What's the time? Yeah, it should be open. Yeah, it looks open. Brilliant. Just going to call in up here for 45 minutes. You know, the body is a temple and all that. Ah, yes. Brilliant. Good to see everything's in top-notch working order. And I think you'll agree when I say that every island paradise needs its own gym. And this one here, Well, she comes with a 5-star view. Whew, just in time too. Haven't done a workout in a couple of days. Oh, you're fucking kidding me. That weighs a ton. Why mess with perfection, eh? Screw that. Time, whoa, to take care of dinner. That's cool. Whoa. All right, this ain't graceful, but it's got to be done. Oi. That wasn't sketchy at all. A fish! Holy heck! Look at that! That right there is a fair lump of a trevally, but I don't reckon I'll be having this one for dinner. That's way too big. Look at him! Oh man! Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. That is solid fish off the rocks. Woohoo! All right, now to let him go. It's getting dangerously close to beer o'clock. Sun's getting low. It's been a big day. Just to get to the barge point for me took a couple of hours. Then of course getting onto the island. I've come a fair way up. So I reckon it's about time I start looking for camp, which I know exactly where it is. About 20 minutes this way. It's gonna be a good night too. Look at it. Magnificent. DHI. It doesn't get any better. Wow. As far as first days on an island go, they don't get much better than today. What an absolute cracker. Now, I felt like fish and chips ever since I got on the island. I caught fish today, some pretty bloody big, some small. Pan sized to what I was after. Managed to get a couple of fillets in the fridge. Now, I can't be bothered cutting up potatoes into little tiny chips and making a batter and putting it all in the oil. I can't be bothered. I'm going to show you a method to make fish and chips in 5 minutes with a secret ingredient that I reckon is going to spin you out a little bit. Now, first and foremost, we're going to need some fish fillets there. That's half a fillet. I'm going to keep the other half for tomorrow night maybe. We've got some lemon juice, of course. We're going to need some egg. Of course, we're going to need beers. Can't have fish and chips without beers. All right, let's get stuck into this. Cheers, folks. Great day. All right, like I said, we're keeping this super simple. Step number 1, the chips. Well, that's what they're going to look like, potatoes. I like these little ones, they work well. And all we need to do is just cut them in half, like that. Chuck them in the billy. Cut them in half, like that. Chuck them in the billy. Anyone that's asking me, Graham, why are you using your good filleting knife to cut potatoes? Well, I've got a few of them. And I like them. They work really well. So that's it. Cut those in half. I'm going to put those down here. There's a mosquito in there. I'll tell you what, there's been a few bugs around tonight. I'm going to get that on. Now, what you want to do with those is cook them until they're not cooked. You don't want to cook them. You just want to get them till they're about 3/4 of the way through, and I'll show you why in a second. I'll get back to you. Woo-hoo-hoo, that's hot. All right, spuds are on. Let's get into the fish. Now, super simple, but with a twist. Where's my secret ingredient? Here's the thing. I love the way the Mitts alloy canopy has been set out. Now, my secret ingredient's in that drawer over there. If I needed to get into that drawer and it slid out across the top here, I'd have to take everything off this table, I'd have to put it down here, then I have to get my secret ingredient, then I have to go back in and get it. Doesn't work like that. Watch. It's as simple as that. It just works so well. Oh, heck, where's my secret ingredient? I've lost my secret ingredient. No, that's an old packet of Doritos. Where's my secret? There it is. Secret ingredient. And then you just, put that back and your table's back where you wanted it from. Okay, so here we go. What we're going to do is coat the fish as you normally would. Nothing too secret about that. But what we're going to use Deb instant mashed potato with onion because it's gourmet. Just get that on there like that. Plenty of, oh, it smells good. I love the smell of this stuff. There you go, plenty of that. Stick with me here, trust me, it'll be worth it. That goes back there. Get your fish fillets. Here's half a fillet. Dip them in a bit of egg, bit of beaten egg. Now, it's hard to travel with a beaten egg, so I suggest you bring a full one. Sorry, dad jokes. Whack them in there, get your other fillet. Oh, this is, for anyone asking, this is Blue Spot Emperor. Blue Spot Emperor, beautiful eating fish. And you're basically just going to coat them in Deb instant mashed potato. I know, pretty weird, pretty weird. Okay, look at that. Those little bad boys, we've got a new jacket. A jacket of Deb instant mashed potato. Ah, look at that. That looks weird, smells even weirder, but trust me, this works a treat. We'll wait for the spuds to come good and I'll show you what's next. Yep, okay. We're at that point where the spuds are not quite cooked, kind of close, but not quite. So let's get the lid off this. Ooh, it's hot. Get them out, and I want you to be don't just treat them with a bit of rough nature. I'll show you why in a minute, but don't scoop them out of there and be all chefy about it. Get into it. Get on there. That's it. That's it. Now get into them a bit. Give them a bit of that. Give them a bit of that. Smack them around a little. Now, once you've squished them like that, you're going to get yourself some vegetable oil. You're going to put that in a pan like this. It's very easy. Anyone can do this bit. Bit of vegetable oil in a pan like that. We're going to get that pan hot. I'm going to chuck those in the vegetable oil. Now, you can see what's happened here by breaking up these spuds. They've all become sort of crispy and they look fantastic. Now I've added some pepper and salt just to make them taste a bit better. Once they're getting close to being done, just scrape them all up to the uphill side of the pan. Leave a bit of oil down the bottom. I might just put a little bit more down that bottom end of the pan down there. Just like that. And now, let's introduce Deb. Instant mashed potato. In there it goes. And that'll start to fry up. Now, that's really the basics of this fish and chips. I need to put a little bit of salt and pepper on there. Out of there, a little bit of salt on top. A little bit of pepper. Oh man, that smells weird. It smells like a cross between fish and, well, instant mashed potato, because I guess that's what it is. Hey, I wanted to show you something. Check this out. This little bad boy here is a new torch from Nebo. It's called Torchy, kind of cute. But what I love about it, it's tiny, but it packs a punch. What I love about it is you just put it on your cap like that. Look at that. You can see what you're doing. But you don't need to actually carry a head torch around, and it packs a huge punch. And of course, like all Nebo products, it's got a magnetic base. I love it. All right, let's give this 5, and I'll show you the end result. All righty, look at this. Blue Spot Emperor, Deb mashed potato was a coating. We've got some chips. Well, they're not really chips. They're kind of scrambled potatoes. They taste superb. And I tell you what, if you've never tried Blue Spot Emperor, it's a beautiful fish. Oh man. That mashed potato stuff just adds another layer, another complex layer to the taste. Folks, I'm absolutely knackered. I'm excited. I'm still on a high from being on the island. It's day 1 for me. It's been huge. I'm going to eat this, crawl into my swag. I'm done. I will catch you folks in the morning. I reckon the secret to a really good breakfast is to be really hungry. Woo, that was not for beginners, I tell you what. Well, with that kind of fortification in me, let's press on, see what the day's got. Just tracking north up the eastern side of the island right now, but there's a track coming up, according to the GPS, that goes almost due west across the island. I got told about this track on the barge ride across, and I was told I absolutely had to go and check it out. So it's a bit of a goat track, hasn't been used in a very, very long time. Let's poke our nose along here and see what all the fuss is about, eh? Well, according to the GPS, I can't go too much further west before I fall off the edge of the earth. So I'm guessing that just over this... Holy heck! Will you get a look at that? I'm going to park up and take a look at this. That is spectacular! Look at that! What a spectacular location, and it's a real special location this too. You see, right now we are right out on the west coast of the island, but we're also at the highest point of the west coast of the island, and that means something pretty special. This location right here gets the very last sunset of the day every day in Australia. How would that be? Now look, I've timed it a bit poorly because I'm heading north. It's not sunset right now, but can you imagine coming down here, sunset and a couple of brewskis, maybe a dozen oysters, You picking up what I'm putting down? Woo-hoo-hoo! What a spot. And I should probably get back away from the edge. I got an interesting fact about the island. I'm gonna need you to cast your mind back. Do you remember that last AuSolo I did down Murchison House Station Way? Remember the station was opened up by Von Bibra? Remember him? He built the cottage, started the station up down there. Okay, this island, Dirk Hartog Island, back in the day, was opened up to agriculture in the way of sheep station. At the head of its time, had about 12,000 head of sheep on here, and it was producing a heck of a lot of wool. In fact, the old wool press is still back at the homestead, along with a lot of the bits and pieces from that era. So the island was used as a sheep station. Here's the interesting link. Von Bibra's brother is the bloke that first introduced sheep to the station. So you can see that Von Bibra name was kind of kicking around this part of WA back in the day. Now, the problem with the sheep being on here wasn't the only thing that was introduced. Of course, feral animals came to get a foothold in here, foxes, cats, rabbits were introduced, and of course there were goats as well. And that actually caused a significant amount of damage on the island. The island actually was home to large numbers of native animals, but you introduce foxes, you introduce cats, they're gone. So there was a massive plan put in place to destock the entire island and then try and get rid of all feral animals. And what a task it was. I mean, just getting rid of the goats alone was a monumental task, let alone trying to catch cats and foxes out here, 620 odd square kilometres. However, in 2018, it was deemed that the island was free of all feral animals. No foxes, no cats, sheep were gone, the goats were gone. And so now, and this is so cool, I reckon this is awesome, because it's an island and because they can control what goes and what comes, and they can keep the feral animals off the island, they've started to reintroduce endangered, in some cases, critically endangered native animals. So with that news, they've started to introduce critically endangered native animals onto the island. We're talking quolls, woylies, chuditch, we've got all sorts of things, little wallabies jumping around. I've yet to see anything because the program is only just started up, but they have plans to really start to stock this place up with native animals, and it could be a bit of an arc for the place, you know what I mean? Things will breed up on here and they could be then introduced to other places when those areas get under control as well, and I think that is just fantastic. So from sheep, old Von Bibra, through to hopefully I'll get to see a wallaby running around here one day soon. I know that at night, I'll be getting my torch out and going for a walk. How cool is that? That ocean's super calm today. Hard to believe that that can be an absolute raging sea at times, and it's taken a lot of ships down to the bottom. Heaps of shipwrecks through this area. And there's one hidden up behind the dunes up here, not many people know about it. It's got a bit of a story to it. Yeah, it's a fairly unremarkable sight now. There's not much here. You wouldn't even know it. You'd drive straight past it if it wasn't for someone putting a plaque up down there. Story is, 1841, a French ship ran aground out here in a big gale. And the crew, they abandoned the ship and they set up camp here for 10 weeks. There was no hope. No one was going to rescue them. So they had to go out and try and get off the island themselves. They had 4 little boats. They all set off in the 4 little boats for Java. Can you imagine? Only 3 made it. Whilst they were in camp, 5 blokes died of scurvy. Shipwrecks along this coast everywhere, and some of the stories, horrific, I tell you what. Not much left out here now, bits of metal and stuff. But yeah, 10 weeks out here, no water, no food. Don't know how they did it. Alrighty, remember old mate Dirk Hartog? Island's named after him. I reckon it's time now that we push all the way north, and I'll show you something that he left behind. Pretty significant bit of kit it is too. We'll settle in, do a few kilometres. That is one heck of a view. Alrighty folks, we've done it. We've made it to the northernmost tip of Dirk Hartog Island. This is called Cape Inscription. And it's called that for good reason. You see, in 1616, old mate Dirk Hartog, he's running around here, decides to climb up here to these cliffs to get a bit of a view. He looks out over there and he goes, holy heck, I've got to let people know that I've been here. Now, some of you younger viewers, it might trouble you to find out that back in 1616, you couldn't just text a mate and say, hey, listen, I've found a big island and I've named it after myself. And of course, I don't reckon old mate Dirk would have done a TikTok dance either. It's way beneath him. Instead, he had to do something a little bit more industrious. He went down to the galley of the ship and he got himself a plate, a pewter plate nonetheless. And on that, he scratched a message. Now the message basically said, I'm here with me mates in a boat, and I'm leaving here tomorrow in the boat with me mates. That's basically more or less what the message said. He took this plate and he nailed it to a plank of wood just over there behind the D-Max. Now, that plank of wood with the plate nailed to it stayed here for about 80 years until William de Fleming bumped into the same island, climbed up here for a better look. There's a plank of wood with a plate nailed to it. He grabs the plate, he takes it back with him. It's in Amsterdam in the museum now, and he nails his own plate with a message on it to a piece of wood as well. Now, what is so special, other than that being a pretty cool story, about this pewter plate? Well, this pewter plate represents the very first European item left on Australian soil. I reckon that's pretty cool. This track I'm on right now actually runs, you can see those dunes there, the beach is just on the other side. It actually runs parallel to the beach but inside the dunes here, and it does that because that over there is a turtle nesting beach. Not allowed to drive on that. Now, these tracks just in one or two sort of dune layers can get super soft because you get a lot of wind-blown sand off the dunes filling in the tracks. Can be really, really soft. At present, I've got my tyres, Bridgestone ATs, the dual is down to 15 PSI all around. It's making a big difference. I'm getting through this no problem at all. And I think for a lot of people that are new to beach driving or sand driving, the concept of letting your tyres down from 35 to, 35, 40 down to 15 is crazy. But you can do it so long as you're not radical on the wheel. So you're not fast movements on the steering wheel or going too fast itself, which can then peel the tyre off the rim. It's a real pain in the bum when that happens, but it doesn't happen if you're careful with your driving. And I tell you what, tyre pressures, I say it all the time, but tyre pressures are the #1 modification for getting you further off-road for no money. Costs you nothing to lower your tyre pressures, and it just makes a huge difference. And I've got all the confidence in the world running these Bridgestone Jeweler ATs out here, down to 15, even lower if I need to. And it really makes a massive difference when you get into these soft sandy tracks off the beach in behind the dunes. Okay, we've been to the northern tip and we've said g'day to Dirk, but I've got one last item I need to tick off the list. It's about a 20k drive from here, might be a stop or two along the way. See how we go. Well, hey, what a beauty! I bet this hut's seen some things. This is one of the huts out on the west coast. Now, like a lot of huts around Australia, she's a bit of a ramshackle old affair, but I tell you what, if that wind was coming in sideways with the rain, this place right here, she'd be like Shangri-La. She's in perfect condition too. There's not one bit of rubbish out here, not a can, not a bottle, and that's just testament to how much people love this place. Gets me to thinking, how many beers do you reckon have been drunk at this hut over the years? I reckon one or two. One or two. Have a look at that view, will you? All right, this right here, this is the end of the line. Well, this is officially about as far west as I can physically park a four-wheel drive and still be on Aussie soil. I mean, I probably could go another 50 metres, but it wouldn't end well. Now, it's an odd concept as a West Australian to think that from here, I've got to go east to go home. That's weird. Ordinarily, for me, going home means heading west. Not this time. I'll have a bit of a think about that one and get my head around it. Home, however, ain't gonna happen today. I've still got a few days left on the island and it's gonna be flat out. Plenty of fishing and I've still got quite a few beers to get through. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed a bit of a look at DHI, and if you ever get the chance and you're over this way, come and check it out so that you can see for yourself that West really is best. Thanks so much for viewing, folks. I'll catch you next time on AuSolo. Alrighty, so start again, my voice is breaking. Alrighty, turning into an absolutely stunning day. Here's an interesting fact. I've got all the confidence in the world in those Bridgestone ATs running the dual. There's a crab on the track, crab on the track, crab on the track. Get off, buddy. I've got all the confidence in the world. You'll be all right.